Alright, here we go. One of the first things that you're going to do is to take your jelly roll, open it up, and split it into 10 groups of 4. So here you can see I've put 4 different fabrics together. And I've got another stack here. Mine are all split up. Here's, again, 4 different ones. And then you're going to take them to the ironing board. So let's hit the ironing board. Here we go. Alright, I've got my 4 strips in total. And what I like to do is lay my strip down, and I like to iron my very first one. And then once I've pressed that one, I like to take my second strip, lay it right over the top, and press it again. What that does is it kind of locks those 2 pieces of fabric together so that when I take it over to the sewing machine, I don't have to pin the entire strip. So I've done that with my first 4. So you can see I've got all 4 of my strips. I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew these 2 together with a scant 1/4 inch. Once I've done that, I'm going to meet you back here at the ironing board to show you how to press it. Alright, once you've sewn your scant 1/4 inch, you're going to bring your strips to your ironing board, and you're going to set the seams by pressing both of them. Once you have set your seams, what you're going to do is take them and open them up and press to one side. I like to just pick up my piece of fabric and hold it, and what happens is it just very nicely goes to one side. And I'll flip that over and show you. It's all sewn nicely to one side. I'm going to do that on both pieces. Let me get this one out of the way. Here we go on our second strip set. Press that one. Then I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to lay them right on top of one another, and you can see this seam is going one way. Lay it on top and have the seam go the other way. What happens is they'll now butt right up to one another, and then I'm going to press it one more time before I take it back to the sewing table. Butt those seams up together good. I'm going to press it. I'm going to take it over to the sewing table, and I'm going to sew my scant 1/4 here, and then I'll bring it back over to the ironing board, and I'm going to set the seam and then press it open, and then we're off to the cutting table to start cutting our blocks. Alright, I have sewn my next seam. I'm going to set my seams, and then I want to make certain before I press it open that the way I'm going to press it is going to give me all of my seams going in the same direction. I don't want this one going this way towards the left and the other one's going towards the right. So I'm going to lay it back down. Now I'm going to press it open. Once you've got your piece all pressed open, then it's time to take it over to the cutting table, and we get to start cutting our blocks and putting them together. Alright, I have sewn 2 of my strip sets together. You can see there's 2 of them there. I've nuzzled them up together, and I've lined them up straight across my cutting board. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to trim off the end. So now I've got a nice straight seam. Once I've done that, I'm going to take my ruler, and you can see that my strip sets are 8.5 inches, and I want these square. So I actually have an 8.5 inch ruler, and I'm just going to cut these apart every 8.5 inches. And just going to do the first 2 for you. Once you've done that, then you're going to take your blocks, you're going to line them up, and you're going to sew these 4 together. So now that I've done that set, I'm going to get these over to the sewing machine and get these all sewn together so you can see what your block looks like. So I'll be back once I've sewn these together. Alright, I have sewn my first 2 together. They're actually going to go like this, I think. I took them over to the ironing board and I pressed them, and what I did was I pressed them towards the solid strip so that they would lay a little bit flatter. You can see the same thing here. It was pressed towards the solid strip. So now I'm going to put them together and I'm going to sew this seam. Once I get that seam sewn, our block is done. So I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Alright, so I've got my very first block done. You're going to do that with all 10 of your strip sets. And once you've got that done, we will get the entire quilts put together. So, isn't that pretty? Alright, so now that we've got all of our blocks cut out, we have 9 of our blocks that are made out of the 2.5-inch strips, and then we have 4 blocks that are made out of the 2.5-inch strips and 1 solid block. The next thing that we have to do is start putting all of these blocks together to form the rows in our quilt. The fabric that I'm going to be using for my background fabric and my batting fabric is this Moda print, and it is 108 inches wide. And the reason why I've done this fabric is because I don't want to piece any of my strips. I just want long strips, because that's that much less sewing, and the whole idea behind this quilt was a quilt that you could make very quickly and very easily. So out of this I have to cut a number of strips. On my website you'll be able to get the complete dimensions. I did it. I challenged myself to design and make a quilt in one day, and here it is. It's made with 1 jelly roll and then fabric from the line for the borders. You can see the quilt is very large. It will definitely fit on our bed, and I cannot wait to get it on the long arm. This is going to be so much fun to quilt with all that open space. So there you go. This is a true quilt in one day. Thanks for watching.